What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the BaseLINE podcast. I'm your host, BenLine Newman, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about today. I have my first special guest of the BaseLINE podcast today, my good friend and coworker, Mr. Joe Stolp.
Hi.
How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing well. Came here to talk. I came here to win. Let's do this.
Came here to win. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, we have a lot to talk about today. So, Joe and I came up with an idea. Who are the best imaginary athletes of all time? Now, how did we really come up with this topic?
Well, with a lot of downtime in what we do, I feel like to entertain ourselves at work, we often have to talk about fake, imaginary, the classic would you rather. And, we're both sports fans. I think we just came on this idea from shooting the crap.
Definitely. I mean, especially in the winter months, we both work at a restaurant together, and sometimes it gets slow and there's nothing else to talk about but topics like this. So
Slow.
very slow.
Very slow.
Come to Third Nature. Give me money.
Meat samplers. All day, every day.
Alright, so what we did is that we picked these 8 athletes and we put them in a bracket style to see who we thought might be the greatest imaginary athlete of all time. And we're going to go bracket by bracket to see who might have the edge over the other. A few honorable mentions before we get started, however. We have the Mighty Ducks.
Quack. Quack. Quack.
We have the Average Joes from the movie Dodgeball.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
We have Chaz Michaels and Jimmy McElroy.
We're going to do one song and one song only.
And we have Paul Crewe from the movie The Longest Yard.
Me, my, she. Me, my, she.
So the first section of the bracket, we have Mr. Rocky Balboa versus Maggie Fitzgerald from the movie $1 Million Baby. Both of these are some of the best boxers in cinema history. And Joe, let's start off with you. What do you think about this matchup?
Well, see, it's hard to categorize because it's obviously a female versus male boxer. But Maggie was no slouch, man. Like, what was it, her first 12 fights by knockout?
Yeah,
Nobody wanted to fight her anymore because she was just dinging people up in the first round.
And going off of that, I mean, from the beginning of the movie, you could barely call her an amateur at boxing. She did not really know how to truly box. Clint Eastwood's character took her in, and just to see that improvement over such a short period of time was really incredible to watch.
Which begs the question, though, because Rocky always had the support system. Like, he had the trainer, he had it right off the get-go. And who's to say where Maggie's career would have taken off with proper training earlier on?
That is true. I mean, both athletes started their boxing career very late, both starting around the age of 30. But like you said, Rocky had a great support system. But he also did have to battle back through a lot of loss and a lot of different challenges as well.
I mean, the guy literally boxed communism and won.
He did.
I mean, what could we do with that?
Right. But, I mean, going off of that, Rocky Balboa, a 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. Maggie Fitzgerald, if it wasn't for the Blue Bear, she probably would have become champion and probably would have held that title for a very long time.
Yeah, and let's not forget, too, she was moved up a class in the movie just so she could start getting fights because nobody wanted to fight her.
Because she was just that good in such a short period of time. Mo Coosley, which I thought was an awesome quote, meaning my darling in Gaelic. I thought that was a really great nickname.
I like that, too. I like that a lot.
Yeah, we have Mo Coosley versus the Italian Stallion. Rocky was also the first boxer to ever beat Apollo Creed, as well as even go a full 15 rounds with Apollo Creed.
That's true. I think we debated enough, though. Who do you give it to in that matchup, Ben?
It's a really tight matchup. I will have to give the edge to Rocky, though. I think that Rocky just has too much of a resume to really put Maggie over him.
Yeah, I mean, because when you break it down and look at everything, the competition, the level he was fighting at, and I mean, he's an American hero. That's like us picking against Uncle Sam. We can't really do that, can we?
Right.
So I got to give that first round matchup to Rocky as well.
Up next, we have Jackie Moon from the movie Semi-Pro versus Happy Gilmore. Now, these are two different sports. Jackie Moon, of course, playing basketball, and Happy Gilmore playing golf. Now, Joe, you know a lot more about Happy Gilmore than I do personally.
Yeah. So we think golf. Typically don't think of them as the greatest athletes in the world. But that's not all Happy Gilmore brings to the table. I want to point out that he was a former hockey player, and while he wasn't quite good enough to make the Waterbury Wolverines, he does hold the record for only person who's attempted to stab another person with a skate. The fact to catch someone on the ice with one skate would be impressive on its own. Let's look at the fear when he first starts driving the golf ball with mere no practice. Granted, he's taking a crow hop into it, but this guy's nailing 400-yard drives when I think the longest drive, if I recall, is somewhere in like 330 in actual golf. I mean, it's like Barry Bonds of golf. Like, the dude's hitting bombs. Was trained by Chubbs. Proper training. You can be athletic all you want, but you got to win with people. And, not to mention, he did kill an alligator on tour to avenge Chubb's hand. I mean, this guy has demonstrated fighting skill, coordination by being able to skate, and he can hit the ball a mile. I mean, what more do you want?
I mean, I think that hockey background really comes into his golf swing because I mean, and you know, in hockey you wind up
it's the slap shot.
for the slap shot, just like his little crow step run up golf shot. And I think that probably really helped him with his drive game, a little bit more power. On the flip side of that, we have player, coach, manager Jackie Moon, who again was the player, coach, and manager of the Flint Tropics. Yeah. One of the best underdog stories I've seen. A great movie. And, you know, what can I say about Jackie Moon? He helped his team win 4th place with the helps of Monix and Coffee Black. Yeah. As well as this, he is the best promoter I have ever seen in a sports movie.
He's got a business mind for the sport.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my favorite promotional scene in that movie is when they're doing that underwater dance where there's seahorses and palm trees.
Yeah, that was something else.
I mean, he made the Flint Tropics, who didn't have a great fan base, sell the entire arena out in their very last game just by calling it the Mega Bowl. I mean, this guy was a great promoter, and it led him to becoming a marketing director for the NBA at the end of the movie.
And, I mean, not to mention, it might have been through divine prophecy, but we got to give Jackie his due, being the inventor of the alley-oop.
Absolutely. All thanks to Jackie Moon's mom, who also helped him invent the alley-oop, which won them that very last game for them to win 4th place. They didn't make it to the NBA, but still a great movie overall.
Yeah. But here's the thing we got to look at, then. Happy won his sport. He's a proven champion in his sport. Jackie, while innovative and brought something new to the game, he didn't win.
Well, I mean, while he didn't win a championship, at the end of the movie, they reached their goal. Their goal was 4th place, and they did reach their goal.
Technically, yes, that is true. That is true. But I think when it boils down to it, for me personally, we got to look at the cross-sport athlete. We have 2 sports to Jackie's 1, and arguably was Jackie even the best player on his team? Or is that Coffee Black? Oh,
it was definitely Coffee Black. Yeah. I mean, he ended up going to the Spurs at the end of the movie.
Yeah. I mean, being the leader doesn't make you the best athlete on the team.
No, and he was not a good coach either, having to give the coaching role to Monix just so that they could start winning.
Yeah, so I mean, while he might have been the motivation, he wasn't the building block. I guess to me, he was more of a building block than the thing that got the bus rolling.
Right.
When Happy did it pretty much all on his own. I mean, this guy had, 2 or 3 weeks of golf before he joined the pro tour. That's natural athleticism on its own.
Right. So I'm assuming from what I'm hearing from you, I'm assuming that you would go for Happy Gilmore in this matchup.
Oh, I gotta go with Happy. It's all in the hips, baby. It's all in the hips.
On my side, I would have to go with Jackie Moon. I think he's a great athlete. I mean, Rick Barry invented the granny shot, but he made it popular, in my opinion. So
yeah, true.
I gotta go with Jackie Moon.
We differ on that. We're curious to see what you guys think.
Absolutely. Now next, we have a matchup on the raceway. We have Ricky Bobby from Talladega Nights versus Lightning McQueen from Cars. Now, Joe, just a little brief thing about these two. What do you like about this matchup?
Okay, here's the matchups and what I like about it. Lightning McQueen, Ricky Bobby, both proven winners.
Absolutely.
But here's where I come in to differ. A car is only as good as the person steering it. Now, granted, it's a sentient car, and we're talking in an imaginary world, but, like, would Lightning McQueen be able to control the car as if he were a person versus the car? You know what I'm saying? Like, would he be as good of driver if he was not the car himself? And those are things we don't know.
Yeah, so that's a very good point that I've never thought of.
Yeah, it's a very open in the air. Of course, I kind of have a bias in this. I mean, after the movie Grease, I was kind of done with magic cars. Like, I'm just kind of over it, to be honest. And I mean, look at it. Like, look at the level he's securing. We have the Magic Man, Cal Norton Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Lightning McQueen has Larry the Cable Guy.
He does. I mean, he did teach Lightning how to drive backwards, though. Which it wasn't impressive to see in the movie. Yeah. He also was coached by the legendary Doc Hudson, who made Lightning one of the best dirt racers in the entire world.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, it'd be a toss-up. It's a tough sport. I don't know much about the NASCAR world. I'm not sure if you do as well.
No, not much. I've only been to one race in my life. It was the Indy 500 last year, which was really fun to watch, but I still just don't know much about it.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess if it boils down to this, given our knowledge of racing, I think it boils down to a quote from the Ricky Bobby movie itself. If you ain't first, you're last.
He makes a great point. I mean, this matchup is a battle of some of the greatest catchphrases in cinema history. You got, like you said, if you ain't first, you're last, whereas Lightning McQueen's is ka-chow.
Yeah, but Ricky P's excellence. I'm basing my argument on the sole fact that a car is only as good as the driver. I have to give the edge to Ricky here.
All right. And I think that I would also have to give the edge to Ricky on this one. Both great athletes, but Joe makes some great points, and we both choose Ricky in this one. Now, the last matchup that we have in this first round of the bracket is Air Bud versus Forrest Gump. Now, Joe, both of these are multi-sport athletes. Tell me a little bit about these guys.
Well, Air Bud, I mean, everybody kind of gets the gist of this dog. What sport couldn't he play? I mean, but at the same time, what you might not think about Forrest Gump if we're determining a baseline for athletic ability. I mean, the man got a scholarship with Bear Bryant on the sole fact that he had running from the cop speed. Mm-hmm. Like, nothing more. Like, and I mean, that he ran across America just to do it. Ping pong champion. And, I mean, he was a soldier. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think to be an effective soldier, you have to at least have some sort of athletic basis. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I mean, Forrest Gump was the fastest man alive before that term even became popular. I mean,
Usain Bolt kind of bit that one. Be original, buddy.
The most, like we said, multi-sport athlete, and the thing I like about Forrest Gump is I don't even think he realized how good he was at these sports. Probably, I mean, obviously it's a movie, but probably the greatest runner in Alabama history, maybe football history, as well as an Olympic ping pong champion.
You see, though, where I have an issue, and I think where Air Bud's going to take the edge for me, is Forrest Gump is rooted in storytelling. Mm-hmm. We never actually see these accolades. I've never once seen, like, a trophy or any kind of sports thing. For all we know, it's a guy on a park bench flying. This dog has the trophies, has the gear, the coaches, and I mean, not to mention, in two of the movies, it was the volleyball one, mm-hmm. He would solve crimes in his off time. And then in the football movie, he was kidnapped by a Russian circus and still survived. I mean, it's a dog we're talking about, people. I don't see how we can't give it to him.
I mean, this dog was the best player on his team for every single sport, and like we said, he is a dog. He was the best at basketball, football, volleyball, baseball, and soccer.
I mean, frankly, the only unremarkable thing about this dog is his owner.
Yeah?
I mean, that kid sucks.
And not only that, Air Bud also birthed 5 dynasty puppies that are good at each one sport. I mean,
the proof is in the genetics, people.
If that's not a dynasty in the making, I don't know what is. I think we both give the edge to Air Bud in this one. Now, we're not going to talk about the next matchups after that, but we are going to show you our brackets. So, first off, we have my bracket. As you can see, we all talked about who we wanted. So I have Rocky winning the first round with Jackie Moon, Ricky Bobby, and Air Bud also winning that first round. However, just so I could have a dark horse, I'm going to choose Jackie Moon over Rocky in this matchup, just to say that I have a dark horse, or else it was going to be all top picks. And then Air Bud being Ricky Bobby, and of course I have to give it to Air Bud as the champion of this bracket.
Yeah. And of course, my bracket's pretty similar to Ben in most regards. I thought I'd have to give the edge to Happy. And of course, I mean, Rocky, American Hero against Man's Best Friend in the finals. That one was personally the toughest for me because I kind of have a Rocky bias. Those movies mean something special to me. Like, I watched them with my dad growing up. But, I mean, it's a dog. You know? He can't open doors, but he opened his way into our hearts. And I gotta go with Air Bud as the champ. I mean, he's a detective, escaped child trafficking, Russian mob. Like, what? I mean, it's gotta be him.
But what are your guys' top picks for this bracket? Our opinions aren't the right opinions. It's just our opinions, and we would like to know yours. Yeah. So let us know in the comments who you'd pick in this bracket to win it all.
Yeah. And if I did something awkward with my hands, just ignore it. I'm nervous.
I don't know what to do with my hands. Yeah. Now, moving on from that, Joe, we're going to get a little bit personal for you.
Oh, a little personal for me.
A little personal for you.
Hold on. If we're going to get to the hot and heavy stuff here, we're going to talk about it.
Oh, he wore it.
And then let's talk about it.
Oh, he wore it.
What makes you think I even like the Packers, though, Ben? Like, you think you're going to get me there?
I don't know. I just feel like
you want to bring up my personal life. We can talk about our personal lives. No. Let's talk about it. I mean...
Yeah. I mean, NFL free agency starts on March 14, ends March 16, and the Packers are looking to be in a really rough spot moving forward from this last season.
Yeah, I mean, to say it was nothing short of a big stinker for a season, it's 100% true. I mean, I love my team, but I'll be the first to admit it. They missed the mark.
Now, Aaron Rodgers has expressed continually his frustrations with the Packers organization going from last year, and I'm assuming he's probably looking to get traded this offseason. Along with this, Davante Adams is probably the top free agent on the market for this offseason.
Yeah.
So my first question is, where do you think Aaron Rodgers will go?
Well, I've seen a lot of stuff, as I'm sure you have, in like the media and stuff, to whether it's trade pieces, acquiring free agents. And now I heard this thing, he's on this kick, like, if I'm going to stay, I want the Pat Mahomes special, you know, that $50 million a year.
Right.
Which, honestly, like, a lot of people say that Aaron's weird, that he's, like, a selfish player and wants what he wants. But, I mean, the guy's been preaching, like, let's just get pieces to build this offense for years. And now we didn't do it.
Right.
We didn't listen. So now it's like, okay, you don't want to put the pieces around me. You're going to pay me if I'm going to stay. I mean, to think it's nothing short of the problem with ownership with the Packers, it's ignorant to not think that, like, okay, we pissed him off for 4 years. Now he wants his due. And, like, he's given us a real ultimatum is the word I'm looking for. He did it. They did it to themselves.
Right, absolutely. And, I mean, while they could probably make the money work, they'd have to pay Aaron Rodgers as well as Davante Adams, who is probably going to get one of, if not the biggest wide receiver contract in NFL history.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's one of the top 2 receivers in the NFL, and he's not number 2.
Now, if Aaron Rodgers does leave the Packers, do you think that Davante will join him, or do you think Davante would go somewhere else?
I think what it's going to boil down to is what kind of trade offers are made. I've seen teams like Las Vegas, I've seen the Titans, I've seen the Broncos. And while I think the Broncos might have the most capital to give us, I would think if there's an option in which we could acquire maybe a little less, but get Derek Carr in the package, Davante and Derek Carr were best friends in college. I mean, and if we're going to move on from the Aaron phase, let's move into the Davante phase. Let's get him what he wants before we start losing all our players and jumping ship. It's just come to a point, personally as a Packers fan, let's move on or let's not.
Right.
Regardless of the outcome, let's put it all out on the table. Let's get it done with.
Right.
It's like being in limbo for being a Packers fan right now. It's just, it could go either way, and I'm just tired of not knowing which way.
Oh, absolutely. Because, I mean, this season you guys were good enough to win the championship, but at the same time,
Yeah, what does that matter?
It just keeps happening. That's what I mean. It keeps happening over and over again.
Yeah.
Where you are kind of in this limbo state of being good, but not just being good enough.
Yeah.
I mean, along with that, Derek Carr would be a really good quarterback for the Packers. I mean, he proved himself this year, leading the Raiders to the playoffs.
With an interim head coach, if I'm not mistaken.
Interim head coach, losing a player like Henry Ruggs midway through the season.
Yeah, I mean.
And they still pulled through and made it to the playoffs. Now, going off of that, is there a way to make Aaron Rodgers stay for the Packers? What do they need to acquire to get him to stay? Because, I mean, if you look at the free agents and, if they try to add another wide receiver piece, I mean, you have Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson, Juju Smith-Schuster, Mike Williams, like all these pretty solid second options for this team.
Yeah, see, I've been thinking about that as well. I think what it's going to obviously take for Aaron, what he asked for in the first place. I needed more help here or having some input within the system. It's like, why is it such a drastic to give Tom Brady his input in his system? But when we're seeing Aaron Rodgers and arguably comparable talent level, I'm not comparing, they're two totally different players, but in terms of actual just talent, I think they're at least on the same level, I want to say.
Yeah.
He wants players. He wants to win. I mean, the guy's been in Green Bay for 13 years, and for 9, 10 of those years been the only reason we've been relevant.
Yeah.
I mean, give the man his due. And if you're not gonna, let's move on. I mean, a lot of those pieces, I think, for example, I think we need someone to stretch the field, where I think Chris Godwin would be a good fit as opposed to someone like I see on your list here. You have like Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson's a big figure on the outside, and I think he's more affordable, but we already have Devontae.
Mm-hmm.
We need someone who can stretch the middle of the field so we're not throwing 9 passes to a running back in our first playoff game.
Right.
I mean, the game proved itself. We can't only throw to Devontae.
Right. So, I mean, I guess we'll just have to see what happens. Again, NFL free agency starts March 14 and ends March 16, and we'll see what happens with the Packers. And that's going to wrap it up for us today. Thank you so much for Joe.
Yeah, thank you for having me, dude. I had a great time.
Yeah, of course. We will catch you guys next week. If you enjoyed the video, please please subscribe, and again, leave in your comments. Where do you think Aaron Rodgers will go? Where do you think Devontae Adams go? And again, please put in the comments who you think would win in our fantasy bracket. I am BaseLINE Newman. Thank you guys so much again for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.